Oftentimes these green lawns that we desire so much are supported by chemical fertilizers and excessive irrigation. What if we did something a little different with this space where we currently grow grass? For example, in these suburban neighborhoods where a lot of people have a small yard, we can be more creative, more beautiful, and even grow your own food. I would love to introduce to you some friends of mine who have taken this challenge personally. Todd, Candace?
Hi.
How are you?
Hey Blake, welcome.
So guys, tell me about this front lawn turned into garden.
Well, we'd love to. It all really starts at the front in the border, because when we wanted to turn the front yard into a productive space, we still had to make it look nice. When we decided that the front yard was the space that we had to grow food, we knew that in order to be good neighbors and still part of the community and cognizant of the neighborhood as a whole, we wanted to make it beautiful as well. So we lined the front border with roses and with ornamentals, lantana, and various beautiful and native species that kind of hides the productive part of our yard.
Hey guys, tell me about this arbor. It's kind of front and center, right behind this beautiful front. Tell me the story about how this started.
We had the fence up front, and that was part of kind of our landscaping plan from early on, and we decided that back when this garden kind of started taking shape, we had two trees. We had one on either side, and they were fairly decent size. And we knew that after we took the first tree out, because it was dying, we knew that to get the most production out of the small space, going vertically was really the answer. And so this is primarily made from recycled materials. We built it. It's not. It's kind of a quick and dirty arbor, but it does the job, and we think it looks nice.
Yeah.
But it does the job. But it does the job.
It does the job, and it looks beautiful. It gives that nice, welcoming entrance to this front space, and you have melons growing on it.
That's right.
When I talked to Todd and Candes about their front space, they were telling me about this little herb garden that really started it all. I'm going to let them share their story about this space and how it turned into a long journey to a front yard garden.
When we first started gardening, we started in the backyard, but we've got two huge red oaks, so that really crowded out the sun, and our tomatoes weren't doing so well, so we decided to move up front and started with this herb bed. Some of the things that we're growing in our herb garden are the lemon balm. We grow a lot of things for teas that I like to experiment with. We've got purslane, we've got thyme, rosemary, of course, basil, oregano, and really enjoy the chocolate mint as well.
When growing food, an herb garden especially can be small and really beautiful. We grow probably 15 to 20 different edible plants right here in this small space, and nobody even realizes that it's not part of the landscape.
Todd and Candace are creative people too. They decorate their gardens and their house with lots of things that other people just discard. In this front yard space, removal of this large tree was sort of the anchor point that started this front yard garden. That opened up the yard and allowed for some light to come in, and after some discussion between Todd and Candace, they put pen to paper and started designing the pathways and where things might be planted.
There used to be a big ash tree here, and when the tree started declining, because they're a fairly short-lived tree, we knew we were going to have to cut it down, and we'd be left with what turned into about the only sunny patch in our yard. Having struggled with growing food in the backyard originally, we thought this would be a great space to do it. The challenge was, although I thought it would be a great place, Candace did not. So she really needed to see a vision put down on paper of how it would look. And that's kind of where we started talking about some of the decorative type beds.
Yeah, because the first thing you think of when you think of gardens is rows and rows of food and vegetables, and it had to look pretty. It didn't, because we thought if they're going to look at it from the road, I don't want them to see just, you know, rows. It had to be creative.
After a season of experimenting with the food garden in the front lawn in this corner, Todd and Candace decided to expand in year 2 over up toward the house, where they wanted to plant some ornamentals and some food, so they put roses and kale.
When we were thinking about creating this space, we were not only thinking about food, because it's really more than just growing food in the yard. We're looking for a way with our small plot of land to make it as productive as possible, and one way that we found is to create a nice space that we could enjoy sitting outside and enjoying the garden. We didn't have anywhere to sit before. We could pull a couple of lawn chairs out, but no dedicated space for relaxing, and so this is, for lack of a better term, kind of like a room outside that we've tried to create in and amongst the garden space.
As we come around your yard, we started in one corner that was more or less year one, followed around to the seating area, and this is, because we already talked about this area, I know that this is year 4. You guys developed this space by cutting down that second tree. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how this space developed.
When we decided to bite the bullet and take this tree out last fall, we knew exactly what we wanted to do. Candace had already put it down on paper, having had success in the other part of the garden. She actually designed this space pretty much herself, and we just put it together. Actually, Candace did most of the work in this part of the garden. She spent hours and hours putting in the paths, putting in the borders, hauling compost, and I would help out on weekends, but she really planted this area and kind of owns this along with our boys.
Yeah, we had to decide how the beans were going to cast shadows, what could we plant, where that, you know, how the sun was going to cross the yard, so we had to plan accordingly.
This corner of the yard, like the rest of their yard, is very interesting. Todd and Candace do not feel the need to spend a lot of money on gardening supplies. In this space alone, we have a sewer pipe, wire and burlap, cattle panel, and a stock tank. In the stock tank, they have things like radish and carrots and eggplant. Behind the stock tank is this interesting feature on that front arbor. 2 mailboxes that were discarded. People got new mailboxes and put them out in the trash. They were collected, mounted on the arbor, filled with soil, and now it's growing the melons. Well, Todd, we're in the last part of your front yard garden, and it looks like you've started a small orchard. Tell us how this started and what you have growing here.
Okay, well, one thing we couldn't wait to do when we took the tree out was plant fruit trees. We'd wanted to for years, we just didn't have a proper space for it, a place that got enough sun. So both of our boys love fruit, so do we, and so we started with what we thought, and through some research, would be great trees. And so we've got a plum here that we planted in the ground this last fall. We do have a couple of containers of blueberries, but we've also got a 4-way apple tree, so 4 different apple varieties that produce at different times, grafted to one stalk, and then a peach tree, along with a few citrus containers as well that we're trying to grow lemons and satsumas in.
And I see 1 fig tree.
And a fig.
And a fig.
New addition from a neighbor.
I have thoroughly enjoyed spending this time in this garden space with wonderful people like Todd and Candace. This video, I hope, serves to not only highlight a beautiful garden, but to encourage you to utilize your space to do something fun and creative and food productive, and not just grow green grass. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Daddy Curbs channel. If you liked this type of video where I go and visit other people in their gardens, give me a thumbs up and a comment below and let me know. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. Hey guys, Todd, Candace, thank you for letting me come into your backyard.
Welcome.